Welcome to this rough and ready video where we're going to be looking at some of the Unifi Access. So I've got a gate here with an old intercom system and a gate lock, as you can see, and I'm looking to replace what's here. I've got a camera there, an old TP-Link, which I'm going to change over as well. So in this video we're going to talk about the components and how I do this and how I get this all set up. Down at this end I've already got PoE power down here, and power which will be important. I'm going to put a Unifi intercom on here, Unifi Access intercom. And then if we walk all the way up here to the front door, at the front door here we've already got one of the older G4 doorbells. We're going to replace that with a Unifi Access G2 Reader Pro. And then really now I'm going to show you how we build all of this to make this work. Now there are a good number of components that make all of this up. I'm probably not going to be able to show you them finally fitted, but I have got some of these bits already set. So let's start with, as you can see, the two bits there, the door hubs. Got one for the portico and one for the front door. We've got some locks here. So it doesn't have to be a Ubiquiti lock. And it will depend. These are failed secure, which means that when there's no power, the door is actually locked, the door strikes locked. So actually this first time I popped them in, I popped them the wrong way round for mine. It needs to be switched, which will show you a little bit later on, switching around. If yours is a fail open or you need it to be open, then this is the way that you're going to actually connect it through, which is for common no, I think, and NC at the bottom there. So I'm just wiring that one up. You can do the same again if you want to on the other door lock, which we'll have to put in place there in a minute. This hub itself is PoE powered, so I'm just adding that in and connecting the devices together. So I'll bring the main PoE power in a moment, but I'm connecting the G2 Reader Pro here to the front door hub. So I'm just basically setting this up ready so that we can connect it all up once actually done. I'm just moving the cables around so you can see these screens when we actually run through and see how it updates. So we've got on these hubs 3 ports. If you've bought one of the starter kits, you will have 4 ports across the top that you can power other devices with. You also might have slightly different labeling on the terminals as well. The gate opener and everything else has slightly different on. So I'm now bringing in my PoE power. It says it should be PoE++, but it depends on how much power you're going to draw. I'm only going to be powering the G2 Reader Pro and the door strike from it. So as a result, PoE+ on itself should be fine. But as you can see, when I pushed on the strike, it was actually open, and you can see the white dot for the word lock there is showing as open. So at the moment this is set that if power is applied to it, then the door is actually unlocked. If I had to move the terminal around, which I will do in a few minutes, then that will set to lock. So I'm just going to repeat the process now here on the lower one. It can be a little bit fizzy to get these pushed in as you need to. Like I said, this will again fail to what is called fail safe. Fail safe means that the door is unlocked. Now, although these are prime of how that's the way round, it actually works on these. But you can obviously, and I'll talk about this later in the video, you have a fail safe or fail secure. Fail secure means no power, the door strike is locked. Fail safe means the door is unlocked. So I'm just going to wire now the intercom here, again into the top of the lower of the 2 hubs. You can see the G2 Reader Pro there has already started itself up. All right, we can choose any one of those across the top. You can put cameras into there. Anything else that's PoE power can be put through there, so you can see it as a mini PoE switch at that point. So I'm now bringing my PoE in power. Again, I'm not really powering very much, even though the intercom is a little bit more fussy. I'm actually running this off a US-8-150 watt, one of the old Gen Watt switches, one of the Gen 1 switches even. But again, PoE plus power is all I need to make this work quite contently. So you can see that that lock is still in the fail-safe. It's got power to it, and so it's actually unlocked. And I recorded this, and now I'm talking over the top, and I realized part of the way through that I had done this wrong, and go back and do it. Hindsight of looking at myself slightly frustrated, going, you should have done this a different way. But anyway, that's why this is a rough and ready video. You can see the intercom is now started up, and that's sitting in the adopt stage, which we'll get to when we get to the computer shortly. Okay, so the intercom viewer doesn't have to be connected to one of the UA hubs, it just needs PoE power. So it needs to be on the same physical IP range as your rest of your setup, and ideally really as your actual OS console, your UNVR or your UDM Pro, and just needs PoE power, which is what I'm setting up here. In theory, you could plug this to the hub if you wanted to, if you were going to have it close enough to where the hub was to make it useful. Then you could again PoE power it from there just to make it a little bit tighter KBO wise. Certainly, if you're going to have it on the side of the door where the hub was, you could do it. Now again, you might want an exit switch if you don't have a hard door handle that you can pull down. So that's the Ubiquiti UA button, the exit switch. And really this is all the core of this setup and how it needs to be. Just going to go back though, because I realized when I did this I could actually show you the wired in. So I've put the faceplate to tidy on the front of the button. And we're just going to grab a couple of the cables off here, shorten them up, and then we can actually use this and show this. So if you want to be able to have an exit button in some of those buildings, you have a big green one or a door push, then you can actually have this to do what you want. Okay, so stepping back slightly, as I'd mentioned, I've put these in the wrong way around. I think it's NO, COM, and NC. In my instance, my door strikes are secure with no power, i.e. the strike doesn't move. So I'd actually got these wired the wrong way. So I think I'm about to show you these completely wiring the wrong way again. Like I said, this is a little bit of a rough and ready. But what you'll see is the moment I actually realize, and I'm going to put this back in the right way. So we're going to move the this up to COM, which is our ground, and then our plus 12 volts, whatever it is at the top. And that should actually show it now as secure. So as you can see, when I move it, the lock isn't open, and the one at the top I've moved to the same to match that as well. That just means that both these locks are set and ready, and if there is power or there isn't power in this instance, doesn't matter, they are failed as closed and secure. So now we're going to see what we can do with our door release button, and we're just going to add a little bit of cable and wire that in so we can actually use it and test it. Make sure it does what we need before we move on to do all of the actual programming side. And like I said, here we go. So we need to just undo the terminals. Pretty simple, nothing difficult in there. There's a small little hole, normal screw, same as if you're probably making up a connector for mains power. And we're just going to clamp the cable back in there neatly. So there we go. So it's just going to do that up. And then we'll connect it to the terminals in the hub for exit. And then be able to give it a little test and just make sure that the door unlocks. And that just makes a neater exit point if that's what you would like to do, if you've not got an internal door handle, like I said. So obviously we've got two hubs, but the first one is a front gate, so I'm not really worried about having the exit button on there. We're just going to put this to the one that has the G2 Reader Pro. So we're just going to bend those ends of the cables and put them into place. Again, this is 12 volts. It doesn't really matter which way round. R plus and R minus is R, certainly for this button. This is an exit system anyway. All right, there we go. So when we push the button, you can actually see the door unlocks, the strike unlocks for a few seconds, and you can control that, and then it locks itself back up again. So we are really at this point ready to jump onto the computer and be able to show you how all of the setup works to get this running. Okay, so now we've got everything set up. We're going to just start moving through actually the configuration on the device of your choice. Now, Unifi Access runs on the Cloud Gateway Gen 2 Plus. It runs on the UCG Max, it runs on the UDM Pro, it runs on the UDR, it runs on the UDM Pro SE, the UDM Pro Max, it runs on the UNVR, and that's what I'm going to be installing on here as well. So generally the ones that are considered Cloud Gateway, they will run a combination of the Ubiquiti Unifi application, so do just check that your device supports it. Generally, if it has the ability to have a hard drive in it, a storage device, then it will work. So for instance, also it'll run on the Dreamwall as well. So on a screen just up here, so I'm just looking, I've got a video link of what I'm doing. I'm going to try and work this through so that as we make these changes, I can show you on the screen. A lot of this has come out of questions that we've got asked, and a lot of things have changed in the most recent versions of Access. For instance, when I first did these videos, the call manager wasn't here, and now everything's through done through the call manager. So what we're going to do first, so I've logged into my UNVR. I've actually come down to settings and control plane, which is the new place to find all the different applications that are running. And you can see that I've already got Access installed on here as an app. If you haven't, then you'll want to get that installed and running. Once that's done, we will be able to go to the dashboard. And I do have some log files here. That's because I've set this up as a demo, reset everything so I know how to work through and do all of the questions and everything for you. So our first thing really is to add in all of those devices that we physically wired together. So we can go to devices, and this works like all of the Unifi applications in many ways, that we're actually going to adopt these into the system, and you're going to probably want to name these as you go along. Not remembering exactly which one of these is what. These bits are a little bit easy, but the UA hubs will rename these as we go along. So I'm just going to adopt this one first. I'm looking up to see whether the video that we're having a look at here, whether anything's actually happening on that. One of these will get a blue light once it's actually adopted correctly. I think it will, so let's just wait for that to reboot itself. Just want to do this so, as we know, mentioned it lots of the time, we need to connect to a hub first, and then we connect all of our applications and everything actually to that hub as we move forward. So we have two hubs. In this instance, we've got a door and a portico. We've got the intercom connected to the portico one, and we've got the G2 reader connected to the other one. So we're just going to give this a moment just to for it to finish rebooting and get everything connected up. What I probably will do, the Intercom Viewer here. This Intercom Viewer was directly connected to a PoE switch, doesn't need to be connected to a hub, so I'm going to go ahead and adopt that one as well, because that one's easy and quite unique on its own. So we're just going to let that one go through now and adopt it self. And we've got options here for call manager, which we'll sort out when we get here. So I'm just going to probably rename this and let's call this Office Viewer. All right, so let's just apply that and rename it. I don't think we've had our other hub, or the other showing us two hubs here. Okay, we've got this one down here, and looking at the imagery, it's a little bit difficult to tell if one of them has changed color, but I think the bottom one, by the looks of it, is the one that's changed. So we're just going to see if I've got these the right way round. So I'm just going to again rename this. Looks like the fact that it potentially has something connected to it. I don't know whether it tells me what's connected to it, but I might just be able to send an unlock a minute. Yeah, so it is the bottom one because you can see there the lights, the flashing, and the unlock. So let's rename this one Portico. All right, and we'll go through all the settings and how we're going to get a lot of this set up a bit later. So now we're going to just adopt the other one, which we had the G2 Reader Pro connected to it. I think if you're looking in the video, you can just see that maybe the white power light there by the blue and red cables. There you go. The one by the red cable has actually changed color. It's not showing so well on the video there, but it has gone to blue when it's been adopted. So let's just highlight this one, and we're just going to call this main entrance, I think, just for reference. Okay, so we can now come back to the all, and that started to get us everything that is going here. Now, because we've added in the hub, it's automatically seen the devices that are connected to it, and it's actually called them both entry. You can rename those to be something more useful if you want to. So just so that we know, G2 Reader, just so for as we go through this, and we want to make it a little bit clearer as we do this, I just want to label these up so that as we go through, I'm just going to put this as Intercom. That will just make it a little bit easier for us to identify what's actually happening as I show you how we set all of these bits and pieces up. So look, that's the simple bit of it. Everything is now connected together. Let's have a little look. So on the screen that you're obviously looking at, you've got the intercom on the left-hand side. You've got the G2 Pro Reader there next to it. You've got the Intercom Viewer below it. We've got two hubs. The top one is our door. The bottom one is the Portico. Then we've got two door locks. Those door locks are set as default closed. And we've got a door exit release button there as well. Okay, so now that we've got all of those items actually into the system, we can now start to go through any of those configurations. So I like to again start with the hubs. The hubs are our starting point. They are the brains that joins all of it together. So we can see here, by default, it's showing us currently what the picture is going on, any of the terminal items here that are plugged in, I think, and then what device is actually seen on there. And if we wanted to, we could send this into a reboot. So if I send this here, you can see the lights now have gone off on the intercom, and that will restart it. We can manage the devices from here, but we'll do them independently. All right, so the insights in here, it can just show what's actually going on, door access times and everything else of what's been going on directly with that hub. And then in our settings, we're going to be using Call Manager for most of this, but you can set a schedule here. So maybe this was a front gate or something like that. You could set this so it was always unlocked from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. You could set that up how you wanted to. If you wanted to, you could build a schedule in here that worked for you. First person in requirement, the door remains unlocked after the authorized user set to first enter. So again, you could have it that as long as there's one person in the building, then it's going to set itself to be unlocked. So some good amount of control in there. And then you've obviously got the options here if you're not sure with all of these to hit locate. So if we hit locate here, and if we actually look on the video, you can see on the bottom hub there, you can see now its light is busily pulsing away, which will actually help us find the device, and that will do it for a period of time and then stop. So if you've got a number of them and you're not sure which was which, then it's easy enough just to identify it that way round. So that's really all that you see in a hub. So we're just going to redo that same thing here on the main entrance hub. we're just going to check again. You've got the schedule options. There's nothing different, and it's just showing you activity in here as well. So those are our two hubs. That's the portion of this setup as we move forward. Now we might want to just go and check that everything else is as it wants. So we're going to be doing a lot more on the intercom. The intercom has quite a few configurable options that we can work on with this. But just to go through, here's your basic thing in here that's just showing you about the directory. It shows you which hub it's actually connected to. Any insights, again, we'll see there as we go along. People have pushed the button. And our settings, which is where we set the name of it. Now, because this is actually the bit that does functions of this, this is where we start to decide, are we going to allow NFC cards to work on it? Mobile unlock. Mobile unlock is using the UID app. PIN code, QR code. So you can give a number of these things to be available as options if you want to. And again, I'm going to allow this to be a mobile tap, which we'll talk about a little bit more as we go along. Then we've got motion detection. So again, as we see this develop, we will be able to see more with cameras recording movement around this as we see a bigger integration. And there's some integration already, which we'll show you a little bit later in the video, with Unifi Protect, and that's going to be coming along soon. We can then now change some of the details on the front of that intercom if we want to. So let's have a little look at this, and we can change our subheading if we want to on here. So let's just apply this change, and as you can see there on the screen, it now says welcome. We maybe have used that to do a few other functions that I'll show you as a ways round of some of the issues that we do still see with an intercom if you may be wanting to use this as a door entry and just trying to help the user navigate how quickly they can do it. So we then have the option here to put a logo in. So if we were to run a logo through this, let me just find one over here that we can use from our files here. Let's just have a little look and see. I can't remember what size it moaned about one of the other times we did this. Let me just try adding this one in. So there we go. We're going to scroll to zoom out. We just want to maybe position that's probably slightly big. No, slightly too small. That's slightly too big. Got very sensitive scroll on here, but let's put that in there. All right. And apply our changes. So we've got a logo here. You can see it probably only doesn't really show up very well. It's just showing the green eyes. It'd probably be better off to show a different logo on there. Let's try again and see whether we can choose one that hasn't got a transparent background. Probably not that, because that's even worse quality. Let me just have a little look and see whether we've got one to show you what we can do with this. This is a 500 by 500. This is probably a bit better. There we go. There's a better one. Let's just see if that's going to show a little bit better. There you go. So you can have a play around. You can do a few bits and pieces with that. If you wanted to instead, you could do the upload a full background to this. And maybe we can find a full background image. And we can actually load this into here, for instance. We don't quite all fit in this. Let's put it like this and upload it. And we could actually have a full background image to it. So there are some options that we can use here to identify or help people navigate the screen as we get there in due course. So I'm just going to remove both of those so we have this as clear as possible. We can change the brightness. There isn't an option on here to turn the backlight off. This is going to be always illuminated when it is running. It is the default feature of this at this moment in time. You can change the volume on here as well. Manage, obviously we've got some options down here, which is the support firmware update and everything else, options that we looked at before, and the ability to locate it if you have multiple of them and get it to flash at you. So I'm just going to apply those changes. All right, and there is our backlit. You can see the brightness has come up somewhat in there. So that is really the options we're going to look, and we're going to just do the same thing here with our G2 reader as well. Like I said, this is a rough and ready. There's many things that you can do in this yourself, but the whole idea in here is to give you a good idea of what is optional. Some people might use this for an exit. You've got the option again that people, at the moment we've got an exit button, so somebody comes to the door and they want to unlock it, they're going to click the button to exit. We have the option to, if you maybe got a two-way controlled room, maybe it's a store or something like that, and you want to know that people came in and out correctly, then they would need to be able to scan to enter or exit, and it's logged both ways, then that might be useful as well. So in here, again, we want to turn on tap mobile. We've got some options of how do you want people to be able to ring this bell. It is a little bit more interesting of how to do it. Some people are quite happy with the swipe up option, or you can hold your finger on it to ring it. I'll probably for the moment leave it as swipe to call. Motion detection as we had before. Status light, which is the bar along the bottom that you can see in white. If we were to tick that and untick that off, and you can see I've now turned that light is turned off now there. But I'll put that back. You've also got the option, the same as the doorbells, that there's a little status light, a light that shines downwards when somebody comes closer to it. Again, you probably want to leave that on if this is going to be a part of your door entry. And so you can see here again everything that is going on. Again, if we want to change the brightness display of this, we can do that as well. By default, this puts itself to sleep after a few seconds. Which the intercom doesn't, because obviously the intercom is more meant to be there all of the time. Maybe we'll see that as a feature as comes along. But hopefully that gives you those starting places for that one. All right, and we will just check our settings now on the viewer. I don't think there was too much to do on here. No, so there's nothing really on here that we're going to control. We're going to control all of that when we come to it in the call manager. So that again has now gone through all of our items. They're all set up and all got their basic configurations. So now we want to start on the juicy bits, the bits that everybody's asking about. How do we make this work? How do we make this effectively work? And that's going to be a lot of work around call manager. I'm going to start walking you through that soon. Okay, so we've been through all the configuration of those devices now, and happy that those are where they need to be. If we now come back to our dashboard, all right, we've got some footage that is being collected from both of these, just looking up at the cameras that are recording these, and it shows the status of each of those. Directly from this screen using a web browser that I'm already in now, I cannot lock them. You can hear it says the door is unlocked. If we were looking on the screen, you would actually see the lights flashing to show that was open. If we use the portico one, which is the one at the bottom again now, you can see that even on the UA Access intercom there, actually showed a little door icon open. If I do that again to show that the door was unlocked. All right, so again, we can have immediate access and control directly from this. And if you've got the Unifi Access app, you have these features now for it as well, and I will show you some of those features on the phone as we go through the video. So I've probably mentioned it before, I've chosen the locks, these in fail secure, which means that if there's no power, they remain locked. I think fail safe means that if there is no power, they unlock. That's why we wired them round the way that we do. I don't need them to have power provided for them to be unlocked. I need power for them to be unlocked. I don't need power for them to remain locked. Obviously, if you're using a mag lock, then that's going to need power to keep it locked. So we've looked in devices here. Let's come to settings. Our settings here, we haven't really looked much for. You have an option in here, what do you want to do in an emergency mode? You saw that as an option here as a function. Maybe you need to do a lockdown, it's your choice. Do you want to unlock all of the doors? Do you want to have this enabled or not? That's a feature that you can consider and how you want that to work. Allow third-party NFC cards. We're here in Australia. We've actually got this going with credit cards. We've got it going with Go cards because we're here in Queensland. Anything that's got an NFC chip in it can basically be used and connected to a user and then to the door pad. So we'll show you how that works. So I like to leave that in. Randomize the keypad layout. if you want to, and show a simple PIN. Those are your options and how long you want PIN numbers to be. Again, this is going to be your choice when it comes to how secure you want this to be. Your updates, do you want this to automatically update? I generally don't, because I don't want my door system to have a problem part of the way through in it. Our backups, obviously you can control how these are backed up fully actually at the console level, or you can take a backup file now. And then in advanced, the format that we do for the clock, log retention, I like always to keep this, but it depends on what storage space you've got. Minimum, maximum call and view duration. So this is about how long that little window waits of somebody being at your door before anything happens. Door unlock recordings, what do you want to do? Do you want the audio from it? Do you want the video only, or disable unlock recordings? I'm going to have video and audio, because when I unlock it, I do want to see who came through the door as well. Auto retention, the oldest are when there's free space, so again it'll be up to you. You can choose, I'm going to set this to 30 days. We can change the language, and we can change the greeting sound. I will probably leave this on so audibly we can work this out as we're doing it, but I would normally leave this off because I don't necessarily need it to say welcome or the door's open or whatever across all of my system. I just want the door to open. We can then have this option if we have programmed in the users, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Then we can control how we say welcome to those people, and if you're using it for an exit, doing the same. So I'm just going to apply those settings. Our policies and schedules, very much like we might do in our Wi-Fi for turning things on and off at certain periods of time. All right, so is it available for only certain users to use the system? And how does this work? If this is the default site policy, you might only want to have an administrator in it. Does it happen all the way through the day? Is it slightly different? You can create your own policies that fit into that. And then in your schedules, you can define a number of different schedules if you want to, that can be applied to people, door locks, however you want it to be, so that you can have rotating times based on your building entry times, or something, a different schedule for a weekend, and apply things to that. Our card inventory, this is where we're going to store our NFCs and link them to people, where we can revoke everything that's going on if we want to as well. And our visitors, we can create visitors, PIN codes, QR codes, which we'll have a look at in a moment. Your control pane where we came in, and saw what was going on, where we can see the application numbers that we're already running. And our admins and users, this is super important. This is where we're going to control who has access to everything and what they can have access to. And each user needs a unifi.ui.com account. So you want to create those. Once you've created those accounts, or invite them if they're already Ubiquiti users, then we can manipulate which doors they have access to, what cards are connected to them, and all of those types of things as well. So that is the start now of all of the config bits for users and this device. Then we can now move on truly to Call Manager and start building our entry system. Okay, so let's go on to where this is. So let's just put this into perspective. We are in September 2024. The UA-Intercom only came out probably 3 months ago, 4 months ago. So a lot of things have changed. In that time, we didn't have a call manager. The call manager's here now, which has answered a lot of the issues that people have had. And so now let's just try and see what I can show you with here. So I'm sure that at this point there'll be many more developments as we move forward, but this at least should give us a starting point for it. So this is our key here. This is the call manager, and this is where the guts of everything happens. And this is how we manage a lot of the questions that we've had are really around what can be seen or done on the intercom viewer, sorry, the intercom itself. Because if we have a look at what is here now, or the issue that we've got, as we can see, is we've got the option for a directory, a scan QR code, and that sort of screen on there, and the touch pad for pin code and everything. And it comes really at this point of figuring out what we can actually do on that display, because at the moment when you come to this, I'm just trying to see if I can figure out a way of doing this and remaining talking to this. So if I come over to the intercom, and I'm going to just push the call button. At the moment, everything is calling, which is really, really cool, which is what we want. The reason it's working like that is because there is just the administrator in. So first, one of the things we had before is when you used to first click on that button, nothing used to happen. So it's probably going to keep going on like that. So let me just unlock the door to stop it. All right. So our first thing that we used to have was that if you push that button once, the directory would come up. The directory in here is a list of all of the users that are subscribed to it that want to be alerted by what's going on. So that was our first issue, because when we had that, there was only this ability to then you either used to have to push that button twice, which would call the first in the list, or you would have to get somebody somehow to click on one of the directory entries. Probably become a little bit more evident as we add extra users in here, and you'll be able to see how this goes. So what I want to do first is show you what can be happening on the intercom. So if we haven't set anything up, as you can see, that calls the administrator. So whoever was logged in, that user ID is what's going to get an alert. So that can be the, if you've got the app on your phone, the Unifi Access app, then that would have alerted you to that was calling in. But we can build this on a little bit further. So we can see our intercom here. All right, and it's set this up as administrator, and it's given it this number to call. And you can see here that by default we've got the security user, which is my email address, or the email address is registered under. So we can now manage the directory, which is what we're doing, and we can manage receivers. These are the users that we've created. These are all the users that we created here under settings. And users and admins. All right, these have to be created at unifi.ui.com. We can manage roles. So you can have specific roles in here for Unifi Protect. So a door attendant would be the lowest that you would want, or not the lowest, view only would be the lowest, but door attendant would be the lowest that you would want. This is the person, means that they can actually view and manage a door. They can access a door as well. So you could create a group that you wanted to that was just for that, and just assign them access to specific doors. So we can come back and go, well, we want to manage the receivers for this. And we could say, well, we actually want this to ring the chime. So if you've got a UP chime or a PoE chime that are added to your Unifi Protect setup, then you can have these. It can be multiple chimes in here as well. So I think you can probably manage these. You might be able to rename these. This would be in Unifi Protect. And then these can be added to it. So you might have one upstairs or downstairs, or one in an office or something like that. So I've added this in. I also want in this instance that if the button is pushed, the office viewer, so that intercom viewer, is also going to be activated at that point in time. So this is how we can manage our different users. So we can add in now an additional user here and save this. So we now essentially have a number of users, but we just have one entry here, if you like, on the top of our intercom. We can actually create multiple then entries into our intercom. But if I just show you, if we leave it in this state here, then when we push the doorbell, this is the only entry that we have, and as a result, all of these will be called as part of it. So let me just go and call that. Let me just see whether, just quickly on my mobile phone, I can get this into the right place as well with Unifi Access. So let me just see if I have this going. So it's all logged in. Let me just get the recording going. All right, so if I just quickly step away from my computer and round here and push the call button. All right, you can actually see there that on my mobile at the top, I've got an incoming call alert. You can actually, if we look at the video footage there, you can see that the screen for the Intercom Viewer has lit up. My doorbell chime here is busily going on behind me there as well, which you might be able to hear in the audio. So I've now got it in both places that I can do some action with. So let me just unlock the door just to silence that for this moment in time. And you can see the one there at the bottom is called Office Viewer. So that answers a number of the questions that we've had with people having issues with directories. If you don't need to put anything in, you don't need to put multiple users in, then just that one button is going to work, because now we can assign lots of different users to this. And so if you were doing this in a house, for instance, and you had family members, then this would be super easy to do, because each family member just needs to have a unifi.ui.com account, and then they can be added to this one here, and we could call this something different. At the moment it's called administrator, but we should be able to change that name around to be something different. I think maybe if we came here, directory display name, so if you wanted to main house in my instance, all right, and that's what it's going to show up. So when somebody clicks the button, it'll say on the screen calling main house. So that is a really simple answer to a lot of the initial questions that we had with how on earth do you get around having just wanting to be able to push the button, because you used to have to push it a number of twice to make it call the first one in the list. So hopefully that makes sense. We set our intercom, and then what happens when we click it, and what is activated when we click it. So in this instance, we want the same, because we want somebody to come through the portico, or if the portico is open, potentially be able to hit the button at the front door there as well. So we can do the same on here. What do we want? The chime and the viewer to be activated, and that is it. So that will happen now again for us with the G2 reader at the front of the property. So let's just have a little look at that. I'll do the same. So I'll step away from here. I can now push the front of this. It wants me to swipe up to call. So I've swiped up to call. And as you can now see, the viewer is activated, is showing me the video for it. My phone is ringing as well. The chime in the building is ringing. So if I do unlock again, just to close that down. So that is a real simple to set up. So at this point in time, everything that we need to get into from the portico to here, both independently driven. As we know, we need a UA hub for each entry point. If you didn't want to use the G2 Pro Reader, obviously you could use something like the UA Ultra. The UA Ultra doesn't have a camera in it, but it does have the basics of the door hub built into it, so you don't need the door hub. So that's a fairly good option as well. So that now is a starting point for where we can build it on from there. Okay, so let's build on this a little bit more. So there's a few questions that people have asked regularly about, can you have multiple users? Hopefully I've shown you that you can have multiple users, you can have multiple chimes, you can have multiple intercom viewers connected to multiple intercoms, and as you can see, it also works with the G2 Reader Pro as well as the official ones. There are talks about other devices with cameras in them that are more door entry, the viewer working with in due course, but we'll have to wait and see. But hopefully you can see that you could create multiple users like this. So if you wanted a family to all have it, as long as they've got a unifi.ui.com account, then they can be added in here as multiple users, and they can be different for each doors. The same as this is all about the imaginary, or however you want to imagine what you can do with the wiring. So yes, technically it is, as we've said before, one UA hub per door or a UA Ultra. But obviously, if you had 3 or 4 doors that you all want to unlock all at the same time, then potentially you could wire those all back into the one hub. And so when the open is sent, then that could actually work for you as well. Interesting enough, just looking at my little setup here, actually the intercom has actually put itself into sleep mode as well, which I haven't seen before, so that's pretty cool. So the intercom, as you can see now, has dropped its screen away, so it's put itself into sleep. So that's quite a nice feature I hadn't seen before, and it's being updated as well. So let's look at how we can extend this a little bit more. We're going to do QR codes and visitor access and pins and stuff in a minute, but I want to now just show you how you can build up a directory here on the intercom. So we can see that this is a dial code in due course, so you could have typed this on the keypad if you'd wanted to. I'm sure that there are other features coming from that. I would imagine this is potentially going to work with Unifi Talk and a few other options like that for calling phones and things in due course, but that's speculation. But let's just see what we can actually do here in managing our directory. So now maybe we've had main house, maybe we've got another one called office, and we're going to call this dial code 0001. We have now created 2 entries. You can see it on my screen. The intercom has just woken up because I've sent a change to it. So again, now I've got office here, and I can now choose, maybe I want to choose a different set of people that would actually be actioned for. Maybe I want it to be just these 2 and the smart chime, or maybe just these 2 and the viewer. If that menu option is clicked. So as you can see, we're starting to now build this out. Now this is where it becomes slightly more interesting. So as I just wander over to the computer, wander over to the setup again, let me just see what we can actually do with pushing that call button. As you can see, it can't now call just the one entry, because we've now got 2 entries in there, one shown as main house and one shown as office. So we could, if we wanted to, double click that the entry button down the bottom, but how are you going to communicate that with people? So realistically, if you've built a directory, then most people are going to need to choose from it. So we can see we could have maybe the office here, and it now has my option to call. So I can now call the office. The bits that I set up on there to work, as you can see, have now activated. The Intercom Viewer has activated. My phone has activated as well and tells me there's an incoming call. All right, and my user here, security wasn't set in that one, so I'm not actually being told that there is a call happening. So I just need to just quickly turn this off on my, there we go. Nice bit of feedback. All right. Oh, I've still got the app running. All right, so I have activated and turned it that way. So this is how a directory would work. So maybe you have a whole load of apartments. We had a customer come to us and say, look, could we do this? We've got a whole load of student accommodation with one shared entry spot. And so we want multiple, we've got 25 rooms, and we want everybody to be able to deal with that entry point, just a one door. So we'd need one UA hub, one intercom, and then what we would do is in that instance, each apartment or each room in their student accommodation, we might have room 1, room 2, room 3. So just the same as we've done here. So maybe we're going to create this as, room, or even apartment 10. and we're going to call it this. All right. And now we could build that out. And in apartment 10, for instance, maybe we've just got one user, and that one user is this one. All right. And that one user would just be that person's unifi.ui.com. Maybe it was a shared room and there was two people living in there. As long as they were both logged in with that same user, then they would both get alerts on their phone. They would be able to talk to the person from their phone. And be able to see that person, and they would also be able to send the unlock command as well. So hopefully I'll just be able to show you a few bits of what you see on the phone, with hopefully without too much echo going on, but we'll see what we can manage with that. So hopefully you can see that we can build out the directory for the intercom quite nicely, and this gives us a great amount of control over individual users. Maybe this was for the front of your office and you've got a sales team, or you've got reception, and you've got an R&D department. Each could have their own entry to be paged or called from it, and that could be multiple viewers. You can have multiple viewers to multiple intercoms. You can have multiple intercoms to multiple viewers. So there's quite a lot that you can do there, and you don't have to use the intercom viewer. You can use the app to access this as well. So that shows you hopefully how versatile Call Manager can be, and it really now comes down to what you want to build with it and how you set users up in it. Now I want to have a go back into our settings for users and admins, because at the moment all we've actually done with is the admin section of this and not in the users section. So the user wants to have view only or whatever access that you want, or attendant for access, but in users now we have a control. So don't get confused, the admins is their access privileges, and now users is how they can interact with the features that you've got. So let's find a user on here, for instance. Probably not a great one to do. Maybe let's have a look at somebody like Geo, for instance, as an example. And we can see, you know, in Insights when they activated it, or when they've used that tag to be able to get in. But now let's have a look at settings. We can see the email address. We can see what they have, or what we can use around it. So NFC card, which I'll show you how we're going to get that going in a moment. You can set this up with a license plate. Talking in September 2024, like I've said before, there are some new actions that have started to happen. So there are some ways to link Unifi Protect with Unifi Access, and hopefully be able to cover a few little bits of that a little bit further on in this video as well. So we can, for instance, give this user a PIN number. So actually what we might do is, because that was one of the questions people would do, that should go right. Let's just give this person a PIN number. All right, it does like to create quite a complicated PIN number. So let's grab that. That's the PIN number that's been set for it. NFC card we'll talk about in a minute. What's the default policy that they have access to? So again, that's what you want to think about. That's the times and everything we set up before. And let's just apply that. I'll call it Geo. All right. So if Geo was to now walk up to this door plate, let's just see if there is a way of actually viewing the PIN code that is set there, which it doesn't seem to be. So if you don't know your PIN code, it looks like the only option is to reissue it. So let's add that one in again. Pop that in a little notepaddy thing here, just so I'm going to be able to remember that in a moment. All right, so let's add that and apply the changes. The PIN number is in use. That's okay, because we changed it. So 669. I'm never going to remember that. Let's just see whether, I don't think it has a level of which it needs you to have some level of complexity. So let's just, what we're going to do just to make it for this demo, what we can do, if you remember, we had policies and schedules, I think it was, no, in general. Let's bring our PIN number down to 4 digits. All right, which would make life just a little bit easier for this example, because I have to stand up, remember it, and put it in. So let's go back to Geo, bin the pin number, put a pin number in here, and it still says it needs to be 8 long. So that's very interesting, isn't it? Admins and users, apply, create pin number, random. There we go. So it says 8, but I don't. So 9474. So very interesting that the pin must be 8 digits long. So we're obviously having a few issues here that potentially it's not happy with our setup, and then it's not going to allow us to have anything other than an 8 pin number in this instance. Like I said, this is rough and ready, so part of this is learning as we go along, generate that. All right, let's put this into a notepad. All right, I'm going to actually go and write this down in a minute so that I can show you. So let's just add this here. All right, 2 seconds and I will be back. I'm just going to add this. I'm just going to add this here, 2 seconds. I will just get a pen and then write this down so I can just demonstrate putting this code in, which I'm going to have to do partially upside down. I may just walk around so that you can actually see me put the code in. But we need to know that Geo has access to anything, because it's no point in him just using this pin number, because at the moment, if we actually have a look, Geo isn't assigned to any of the things that we have set here. And so we want to add him into maybe being able to get access to the main house. So we can do this, and we can now see that he is a user, but he has been removed from the admins because I actually removed him from the admin section. So because of that, we can go back and find him in admins and in users, and we can say we can upgrade him to an admin, and we can restrict his permissions here, and we're going to restrict his permissions to Unifi Access, which was a role, but I not want a predefined. I just want to give it as a door attendant. So what's the number? There we go. All right, so he's got a. I want to have none and none. Let's see if that will do what we need to do. So he's been upgraded to an admin, but as an admin, he's only got access to be a door attendant with inside this. So if we were to see him here, he is here, but you can see only Unifi Access and Unifi as a door attendant. So if I now come back to the intercom and manage our main receivers, we still, interestingly enough, don't see him now in the list. So that potentially means that that is a too lower access for the user here to be able to appear. So this was one of the questions that we were asked. And I think that this is probably a fairly valid one. My understanding at the moment is that you do need to have full management access then to Unifi Access as a whole, but let's just test that out. So if we come back to Call Manager, and let's manage the directory and manage the receivers. All right, and Geo still isn't in there, which is interesting. All right, so that is not necessarily the truthfulness. I'm just going to do a web browser refresh, just in case this is something cached on in the back end of the page that's not loading properly. All right, so let's have a little look here again, and Geo doesn't appear. So there's something in here that isn't quite right. So let's just have another little look and go. I wonder what he actually needs to. Oh, maybe because I've restricted it to local access only. I think is possibly maybe where I had the issue. Let's just do door attendant, because his user is actually a unifi.ui.com user. So restricting it to local would have been disconnected it from that, which meant it wouldn't work. So I'm going to change, I've changed this, put him back to door attendant now. All right, which is one of the questions that we were asked. So hopefully we've just got door attendant access. Hopefully we can now come back to our intercom, manage our users, and yes, Geo is in there. So that's proved another question that we had was, do you have to be an administrator of the system? No, you don't. You just need to be a door attendant, but you can't be set as local access only. It needs to be linked to that unifi.ui.com account. All right, so we now know that we have got him in as a user, and he has access to this door, and he has the access to unlock this door and enter. So let me just have a little pause of the video and write this down. I'll go and record me putting the PIN number in and unlocking the door. So if I walk up to the intercom and put in the code, you can see that because of how this was set up, the viewer had, so that user had access because of our call manager, and you can see that the door totally and immediately unlocked. So that's how a PIN works. The next option we've got, and that's a PIN assigned to a user. We can do all of this with a visitor, so we'll talk about visitors in a minute, but let's go back to our users here. And we can look in our users, and we'll just concentrate on this same one here. We've got the option for an NFC card. Now, let's talk about this slightly. We maybe think of our mobile phones, many of them have NFCs in them for our credit cards or whatever. Because of the way that those work, you can't normally just push your phone against it. You can push your phone against it and read the data, but at the moment you can't use it to then open the door. Why? Because it can actually change or can actually be changed. So the way that we want to make this work is we want to make a card that works and will continually work. So as long as it's got an NFC in it, it can be set up. So how do we make this work? Well, there are a number of ways of making this work. We'll talk about unlocking it with your mobile in a minute, but let's just talk about NFCs. You can buy little NFC stick-ons that you can put on a mobile phone or something like that, get them from somewhere like Amazon. You can also buy a Keyfob to add on your key that Ubiquiti make, or an actual credit card sized thing as well, which all of those can work as options. I like to try and see things that I've already got. So probably for most of my users, they'll be using their mobile phone to unlock it. We'll talk about it in a moment. But you can use other things that maybe they use. So we've got a travel card. We're up here in Queensland called a Go card. This is basically an NFC card. All right, so I can actually use this to unlock the doors because I can read it and set it up. So our first portion of this is to actually read the card in itself. So we can either do these in manually, or you can push the card against a NFC enabled device. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose an add card, and this is going to say which device are we going to push this card against to read it. So I'm going to choose the intercom. All right, and this is now waiting for me. So let me just step around and do this. This is waiting for me to put this card near it. All right. Okay, so we just had to put it there for a few moments, long enough for it to do. And you can see it's actually read the card number from it. I can now assign that to our user. So we'll use the one that we've been doing, Geo, and assign it. He now has an NFC card enabled to his user. So he's got a PIN number enabled. So if we go and find here and find our users again, all right, let's probably just have to refresh that page. He's got a card and a PIN enabled to him. Be fun if we get to this stage. We won't be doing this in the video. It's fairly new, but it is something he's working on. So now, again, using our call manager, exactly the same as we had before, we can see that Geo is in the list. So if I now actually go to the door with his card and put it onto the intercom, the door, as you can see, has been unlocked. If I was to actually put this against the G2 reader, all right, again, on the G2 Reader, he has been given access. Now that wasn't what I was expecting. Why? Because according to this, he doesn't have the access to open the door. So that was a little bit interesting to see what's actually going on now. It could have been that it was the intercom that opened it because it was so close to it. So let's just try that again. No, it was that door, and it did unlock based on that card, which is very intriguing. That why would that unlock when it is not being set up as access? So let's just have a little look and see if we have a look in the logs here and see what we've got as an unlock. So main entrance, both times were with the NFC cards. So let's have a little look and see why, if there's anything in here that gives us a reason why he was actually able to do that. So our door attendants, he's not in this list of door attendants. So technically he shouldn't be able to open the door. Not immediately sure, and there's probably a few people who are watching this video screaming at me going, I've spotted it already. So I will need to have a little look at that. It could be a side effect of the NFC side of things. But I would have expected me to have actually had to tick him here for him to get access. Okay, so that took a few moments to figure out what was going on, but it was all down to this. So admins and users, this was all perfectly correct. And if we go to admins, the user still only, I changed this, so I'm going to put this back to door attendant just to prove that that was not an issue. All right, but what I'd actually forgotten is policies and schedules. So in policies and schedules, this was allowing the unlocking of all doors. So I'm actually now going to create a new policy called main entrance. Let me just call this. Actually, let's call this port. All right, and in here we can select our location, and that's Portico. All right, and we can say all users that are defined in it and schedule all of the time, and that can be created. So I've now got a Portico one and a main entrance. So now if I go and set up another one called main entrance, location, select main entrance, all users. I'm hoping that all users means all users that are defined, but let's go and have a little look. Oh, actually, in fact, we probably need to define the users in there. So in the main entrance, we're going to have we'll have everybody. You could create a user group, which might be a quicker way of doing it. So main entrance, we've assigned all of those users. And then if we do Portico here, and custom and select, and we do all of them, but we miss out Geo. Then when we talk about admins and users, and we talk about, going to users now, we can talk about the profiles that they are part of. So we don't want them to be part of the default policy we're going to change in a minute now. And the main entrance is all that they're actually part of. So we can just go back and tidy up our default policy. So our default policy had if you were in the Spinel NVR group, so that's why Geo appeared in that. So if we go back to our users, we can see, probably just need to refresh that, I think, again. Let's just see. So he shouldn't be in that one because we had removed him from there. Let's go back and see whether I didn't do what I should have done and saved it or something. So that's okay. Locations is all custom locations is. So that potentially is like locations are nothing. So I've created a default policy. I'm just wondering whether he has to be in the default policy, but that the default policy itself, applied locations, the default policy, authorized users. So I might take those users out. So according to this, my default policy should basically have nothing and nothing. And my main entrance. So by default, it looks like everybody is applied here, but doesn't have it. Let's do that, and but doesn't have any locations. All right. Sorry, I'm learning. Hopefully, I'll check this out and see if we work this through ourselves in a moment. So when we look at Geo as a user, all right, he is now, we can see, only available to main entrance. So if we now take his card and try again, we should find that on the intercom we get a no access. But we get an open on there. So as you can see, I've used a Go card. I've used a Go card for that. But that could have been a tag that you bought off Amazon. As long as it's scannable, you're going to scan it on the device, you're going to assign it and then allocate it to it. So that's quite a nice way around thinking about what other things that people might have. You can get them just to put on the back of your phone as well as an option. All right, so a little bit of rough and ready there, but hopefully that was useful. That's how we can set up some policies. So let's just refresh our minds of that. So our policies, we can set per door or per group of doors if you want, and then you can assign the users that have access to those doors. I would suggest that you do it with groups, and so you might create a new group in here called main entrance access is how I'd probably do it, and then in here you might choose to actually include everybody that generally needs it, and then you can apply those groups as are needed to your policies. So if we actually come to our main entrance one now, instead of what we could do there, we can actually assign a user group, which would be this one, and now we can remove these users from here because the main group is going to take priority. And you've got the option obviously to change the schedules to be just daytime or nighttime or whatever shifts you need to work in there. So there we go. So we've now just shown you we've covered the PIN number, and obviously that can be different for that. That works on the intercom. We've done a NFC card of some type. All right, let's just cover the one last thing on the intercom, and the intercom is around QR codes. The idea that you could give this to a visitor if you didn't want to give them a PIN number, and probably would be the best way. So some of the questions would be, could I have a PIN number assigned to me for if I've forgotten my mobile or I've forgotten something else? Yes, you can. I've shown you that, and you want to make it secure enough. The other way around this is to create a visitor, and then these are maybe coming maybe these are coming on site for whatever you want to call it, and you can have it at whatever time you want to have it here, and you could issue them an NFC card if you wanted to. You could in a PIN number, or you could do a QR code, and to be fair, a QR code is probably one of the easiest ways to do it. You can have this directly emailed to them, which should be pretty good, and that's a neat way to do it. I'm just going to skip this. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to, I think if I remember rightly, I can view the QR code somewhere. Here we go. I can download the QR code. So let me just grab the QR code here. All right. Did that load? There we go. It's loaded. All right. So all I'm just going to do is take a photo of that just to emulate this. I'm just going to take a photo of this onto my phone, and now I can just walk up to that door, as to the intercom, and hopefully just use that image. So let's just go and grab that image. Just going to put that up on my phone so it's nice and usable. Let's just see if we can make that. Well, hang on a minute. We've created a user, and we now need just to think about what that user has access to. So let's have that. They're just going to have access to the portico. So we might need to edit this. So what you could do is you could create a visitors group. That would probably be the most useful way of doing it. And then add your different visitors in there as you went along. All right, so my visitor one, I think, is the one that I've created. Now I've created a new visitor. All right, so let's go and have a look at our users. All right, our visitor doesn't fit into that section. A visitor just is a one-off actual user for just that moment in time. So that's why they're a visitor. They don't need an extra thing added to them. They've just got a QR code. And again, you could set different policies for them as we'd seen in here. So visit locations, so this was what I was looking for. This is what I wanted to have access to. So it can have access to both of those. So I've now set that up. So hopefully if I just wander over now to here. All right, I'm just going to try and see if I can do this from where I am. So as we get here, there's an option for QR code that you can see. Did I just touch that? All right, and hopefully it will read the QR code and it's opened the door. Similar on the reader here. Can't remember which one, whether it's already reading here or one of these is a QR code down the bottom there. I can't remember whether the read, I'm pretty sure that this does it. What does that say? Pin code. Don't have pin code. Don't think. Detecting phone. It's trying to detect a phone, which is fine, but I don't know whether this enables. Let me just have a little look. Let's just check that the G2 Pro reader does support it. We go over to settings. No, so the G2, there you go. Even though it allowed me to access it, it doesn't support it. So there you go. Looks a little bit silly doing that. Sorry about that, but at least we learn as we go. So you can't do a QR code there on the G2 Reader Pro, but you can do the PIN and you can do a mobile unlock. So that has covered hopefully a massive amount of the questions that we have been asked around all of this. We've obviously done a lot in Call Manager, and Call Manager probably is our biggest answer to most of the things that you want to do. How you create your groups, how you assign visitors to this, and how those type of things actually work. So let's have a little look at what you can do on the mobile phone. So on the mobile phone, you want the Unifi Access app and you want UID. So there are two ways of doing this. So if we look at Unifi Access to start with, Unifi Access, again, you can give the user as much access as you need. Door attendant is probably going to be as much, and again, the doors that they are able to open. And so then what's going to happen is just the same as we have in everything else, that let me just get the recording going on this. So we've got all of the things that we can do depending on your level of access in here, your policies and everything else. But more exactly, we've got our doors. And so a user who has this app can actually do all of the things through this. Now, you may decide that you want to do this through Unifi UID. Unifi Identity, because it's probably maybe a little bit more restricted and you don't need to have them to have all of this access. This really is if you want to have some level of admin users to it. Although the more that you take away of control, the less they're going to see in this, and then they would just be able to unlock the front door. So here we can just choose tap to unlock. And we've got options to manage it or not manage it. With less access, then you would see less of these bits and pieces on here. But this app allows you to do all of the bits that we've essentially done here to a certain extent. and manage your users in here and your visitors, so you can add new visitors and everything using the app without having to actually log into the web browser and do everything else. And you can see the screen grabs. We could have gone to a quicker way of just unlocking the doors here and here, which is you would have probably, if you have limited access, you're going to see less on here and just be able to unlock the doors with it. When we're using the app or whatever, we can go straight into this. Let me try and hopefully stop some of the feedback and actually see what's going on that camera. There we go. All right, so you can actually see what's happening on the camera. We can live feed from the camera. We can do this from the viewer, which I'll hopefully show you for in a minute. All right, and so we can log in anytime that we wanted to and see that there was something there and hit unlock and do that. So it gives us quite a lot of extra features within inside the mobile app here of Unifi Access. And now we can leave that. So the same as, you know, on the Portico one in the same way. So let me just turn that off. All right, there we go. Again, we can access the camera in real time, see what's happening, and unlock the door. So the app itself gives us most of the features that we probably want in the day-to-day. And this is really the same as, like I said, using the viewer. So I will just go over and we'll bring that to the main screen. I'll just show you the same features on the viewer there so you can see how that works. So the door viewer, we can change both the brightness and the volume easily in the settings, and it gives us some information about firmware and various other details that we might want to know. We can now live view whatever front door access systems that have cameras that are connected with, and from here we've got the option to unlock the door, or you can see on the left hand side there to chat to them. This is linked to 2 cameras or 2 front door access, so both are showing, but if it was just a one, you'd only see one on that screen anyway. Okay, so there is another way to access this, and this is called Unifi Identity. This is a quick way of unlocking doors remotely, also being able to use your phone nearby. So let me just get the recording going on my phone here, which is just going to be a bit special. Here we go. All right. So we can send an invite to a user. It should have been their welcome email. If they've not got it or not remember it, you can choose on here and then just go invite again, or invite if they've not had an invitation. All right, and that should be able to sign them up to identity. Identity settings are in here, and you can change this name. We've got here phone controlled door access is enabled, so you'll need that to be enabled to make everything actually work. And you could have some requirement for verification code when loading the credentials there if you want to. So once the app's loaded, it will list you all the different doors that it can see. So as you can see on here, I've got the portico and the main entrance. I can unlock these from my phone here if I want to, which is probably just as easy to do. My other option here as well, because for these doors, let's just remind ourselves quickly how we actually set these up. But for the G2 Pro door, we had mobile button and mobile tap and mobile unlock. So this means that I can actually walk up to one of these here with my mobile app open. All right, and there we go. Because I was close to it, it actually unlocked it. As you can see, it also tried to use my credit cards at the same time, which was very exciting. So we had to blur that a little bit out. But I can actually use it if I want to go into the doors, just to unlock the doors here as well. And there are a number of settings that you can do within inside this. So there is great functionality in a lot of the different ways that you can actually make this work. So Unifi Identity, it has a whole load of extra bits and pieces in there. The Unifi Access app, we've got NFC cards, we've got PIN numbers, we've got QR codes, we've just got the normal doorbell push as well. So a few more of the other questions that we've got asked is, what control do you have in turning off some of the features available for some of the devices? So if we have a look at maybe the intercom here and settings, we could turn off PIN and QR code if we wanted to. If we look at the screen as we apply that, you'll see those two options disappear. I know that many people actually have wanted to turn off directory. That's something that you can't turn off at this moment in time. But maybe that will come in another feature release. So if you are wanting to get some control, same as the G2 Reader Pro that we've got, if you're wanting to turn off PIN, you could again remove the PIN as an option from that, and it won't actually then display on the screen. So that's one of the other things that people wanted to know, what we can actually do with that. Just having a quick look through a few of the other questions that we've been listed. Yes, you can obviously unlock the hubs and everything else with the apps. I've shown you UID, and I've also showed you Unifi Access as mobile or smartphone apps. Can you adjust the volume setting on the Intercom Viewer, which I've shown you that you can do in the settings screen? Can you unlock all the doors connected to a hub? So yes, if obviously you've got one hub and you have multiple doors, and you want them all to be unlocked at the same time, then you can wire them back to the same hub. There's a few people who've done some other YouTube videos on how they can get multiple doors connected, but essentially, as you can see, it's just in-out on that, so it's quite easy to wire that view. You can access the door camera and using the viewer or the app directly if you want to. It's not like Unifi Protect yet, where it can do motion and recording other things that are going on, so do be aware of that. I'm sure we might see that in other releases. Obviously, Call Manager we've gone through is a lot of the powerful things in creating your directory, or how many users are notified of somebody being at the front door or being at the gate or wherever it is. But obviously all of these, other than the visitor, are all related to having an account at unifi.ui.com and then being set as at least door attendant as an admin, and then their permissions to what doors they have access to in the users, but they can all then be notified as it is. Obviously, you need to make sure you've got enough PoE power for this. You can connect more PoE devices to this. There are some features which I'll cover in another section in a moment of some of the new bits that came in just 2 weeks ago for events, and just show you those. Everything needs to be on the same physical network at the moment, the same IP network. There are ways maybe around doing that, but generally try and keep it on the same network as you have at the moment. So hopefully you found most of this a bit rough and ready, but hopefully you'll be able to find some of the answers that you are looking for in here. And let me just move on and just show you a little bit more in that next section. So what we're going to do is just going to look at two things here, which is going to be managing pairs or paired devices, and then alarm triggers. Alarm triggers being something fairly new that is being built on, but I just want to talk about managed pairs to start with. So the idea that we've got a camera that is on our G2 Reader Pro on the door, but maybe we actually have another camera that gives us a wide angle view as well of that area, maybe in our Unifi Protect. We actually have an option to link those cameras and basically have something happen when a doorbell or an entry happens. So we can use this based on the hub. So let's take a hub like the Portico, and we've got here what's called managed pair devices. So if I was to go into here and choose maybe the front PTZ, all right, and I can save this now as an option. This is now my paired devices. So if I'm actually to have a look at my paired device here, what do I want it to do? I want it to record a video when the door opens, because at the moment, access is more just about a moment in time thing happening, and what obviously is viewable from the camera that is built into the Intercom or the G2 Reader Pro or whatever. By doing this, we can actually bring a couple of other cameras into play and give us a bigger idea. Was it just one person coming through the door? Was there two people there? Was there vehicles out in the road? So this is a great way of adding additional cameras to the action, and we can add a number of those at the same time. Remember, these comes through the hub side of things, and so we can manage other paired devices to that as well if we want to. As you can see, I can see all of my cameras that are part of the whole setup. And that adds a great new little feature there that is slowly developing. Obviously, we could do things like an AI Pro or something like that as well. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what paired devices are in this section. And then I want to just talk about alarm managers. So this is now managed with inside Unifi Protect. This is when something happens in Unifi Protect, we can get it to do another action. So we want to go into Unifi Protect here and down to Alarm Manager at the bottom. In Alarm Manager, we've got a lot of different actions that are already prepared here that we know about, baby crying, motion, and all those type of things. But we can now create our own alarms. Our own alarms are triggers, and this allows us to actually interact with Unifi Access, or the start of Unifi interaction with Unifi Access. So maybe I should put this, maybe I could create this called Auto Door Open. So what do I want it to do? It's a definition. Now, if you've got an AI-based camera, an AI Pro, an AI Bullet, an AI 360 I think as well, then these can do number plate recognition and actually human recognition. So you can actually, it's faces, you can give us names, and based on those names you can choose whether they're unknown faces, persons of interest, so people who work there or family or however you want to do, or maybe known faces. So we've got several options in this. In basic detection, if we wanted to, maybe we just had a gate that came up automatically. It was not a high security way when a vehicle approached. So when it detects a vehicle, all right, what do we want it to do? Well, in this instance, we can choose this and go use a camera. Maybe we want to select a target for that camera. Maybe we start a camera up, and so we could just choose one of the cameras that we wanted to actually be there. Let's unselect all and say, you know, maybe we wanted the front door camera or the front doorbell front to be the target. And then what do we want the action? Well, the interesting thing of the action here, so the detection is the camera that you actually want it to be using, all right? So what is it facing at? And then if that actually action happens, we can do a few things, webhooks if you're into programming, play a sound light, or in this instance, we can unlock a door or a gate, and then we could choose the location. So maybe as somebody came there, we always wanted it to unlock the gate. We now have got an action that this happens, and we could add it to do again another thing, play a sound, turn on a light as well if we wanted to in a different schedule. So now we can do things where if we detect motion, maybe we've got a floodlight or something else, we can turn that on. A Ubiquiti floodlight is what I'm referring to, or a light in a camera. So we've got some options here that now we can create, and obviously if we were now to start to do this with recognition, potentially we've got an AI Pro, we can start getting number plates, or we can get known faces, and then we might want to unlock a gate if it was a face or a specific vehicle or a number plate. So there's some interesting things coming here as part of this feature, and we're starting to see those grow, and hopefully those are additional useful bits that start you in the right direction of being able to explore this a little bit further. Okay, so just a quick final one. People have just asked about what the quality of cameras are like. It's obviously a little bit subjective, really based on these are slightly more fisheye. They're going to be in a slightly more difficult position for lighting and everything. But let me just show you. This is the G2 Reader Pro. And just wander around and do a close-up and a slightly more distant one so you can see what it looks like. All right, probably going to have enough of my face very shortly. So let's do the same with the intercom. Here, slightly less of a fisheye image. So I was just setting this in place earlier and doing a little bit of testing, and I was just going through the options on the Unifi Access mobile app, and I found an option in the intercom that said direct dial,
which I clicked instead of directory, and as you can see there's no directory now showing on this, and when you just click the ring button on here, let me just see if I can just do that, it just rings directly. Alright, and there's no directory. So I'm going to hop onto the computer now and just see if I can record where those settings are for you, and now we can obviously do the one thing that a lot of people were asking for, is can you turn the directory off?
So you've seen on the little video that I showed you, the front of my intercom doesn't actually show the directory anymore. There's no option for the directory. It literally just shows you the QR code, which I had set as an option, but otherwise the welcome message. And so I actually found it, and it's just slightly hidden just because it wasn't expanded. So obviously we've gone into our devices, find your intercom, go to your settings, and there is a little hidden option that doesn't always seem to appear, but when you come to Call Manager, so come to Call Manager, you could have come from Call Manager over on this way here. You can choose Manage Receivers, and this bit here is the bit that I kept missing because it didn't look like anything had expanded down here. So if you expand this, you actually have two options for how you want it to appear. So if you choose Directory, all right, now we go back to the normal way that it is when it comes out of the box. So now we're going to create our new directory, and we had this before, something like main house. And that was the dial code, and we created it. It had one in there by default, if you remember, and this is where we add our users and balance it and set it all up. And that would now, on the front of the screen, as we saw before of the intercom, it would actually show you a directory, and it would have the directory listed. But if you wanted to come back here and actually choose doorbell call method and just change this to direct call, all right, it will actually now just remove that, and all you're left with choosing is who you would like to be notified of when that button is pushed. All right, so hopefully that's really useful. That was a quick find that I found now that's answered probably the final bit of a lot of customers' questions. Intercom, direct call method, change it to be direct call, and the directory will disappear from the menu, and that won't be on there at all. So hopefully those things we've been able to cover have been useful. Do head on over to our YouTube channel. We've got plenty more box openings, plenty more videos, plenty more rough and ready guides. Do subscribe and stay up to date.